This program is brought to you by Bobway Media, a work of the Chipman Road Church of Christ in Lee's Summit, Missouri, and under the oversight of the elders of the Chipman Road Church of Christ. We thank you for listening.
To walk out into the darkness, the pitch dark, and disappear. It was 6 a.m. and he was on his way out to mow in the dark. You see, he made the decision the day before to get up early to start the 4 or 5 hour mowing and weed eating that he did on our property, since it was predicted to be 110 degrees and it just needed to be done. So I got up at 4 a.m., made him biscuits, and got the coffee going with the goal that he would be on the mower by 6. And I was skeptical. In fact, the night before I said, "Are you sure it will be light enough by then?" His goal was to be mowing by 6:10, he said. So when he came in to tell me he was headed out to start his day at 6 o'clock, I was shocked. I said, "Are you sure?" And I looked out the window, and all I saw was blackness, just blackness. And I argued it was too dark. He wouldn't be able to see where he was going. To which he replied, "It's lighter than you think." And he walked out the door. And I watched him walk out there and disappear beyond the barn light into the dark, with his words echoing in my mind, "It's lighter than you think. And I considered the darkness and considered if, as my eyes peered through the window, if there really is light out there. And I thought about the first night, the first darkness that Adam saw. Isn't it interesting that, and I have no idea why, other than we cannot see, isn't it interesting that we have maybe like an inherent fear of the dark? Our babies come to our beds at night convinced that there are monsters under the bed or in the closet, and we plug in the night lights to show them nothing's there, that the darkness conceals. So when I consider that first night for Adam alone, I wonder what he thought. I assume he was created in the light. So when the sun dipped below the horizon for that first time, what do you think he thought? Did God explain? Was the expanse of the heavens enough? And it's that realization that reminds me why God made the stars and the moon. To give light on the earth, to divide the light from the darkness, for the light to rule over the day and the night. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 18. To rule over that first night. And a reminder that there's always light out there. Always. But what about, when the clouds covered the sky for the first time? They had never seen clouds, never experienced rain. The darkness that comes with that kind of rain. We know it. We expect it when we hear about some thunderstorm coming or heavy rains coming, that we expect it's going to go dark. But they didn't. Not when the clouds gathered and the rain and the darkness came. And we talk a lot about the animals. We bicker and we debate if those animals that were carried in that ark were fully grown or whether they were babies, and we spend hours contemplating that. But have you ever considered the darkness that Noah and his family walked into and lived in? And God closed the door behind them. Genesis chapter 7, verse 16 says, and there was complete darkness while they listened to the rain for 40 days, and the water prevailed upon the earth 150 days, according to Genesis chapter 7, verse 24. And beyond that, chapter 8, verse 6 says Noah opened the window. Now, perhaps he had done that before from time to time, to see out, to get some light into the ark, to peek at some sunshine. But the truth is, all day, every night, there were no stars while it rained in a storm. There was no moon, just darkness, and just darkness inside. And we must assume that there were lamps and there were candles that they provided them, that provided them the ability to see, that God told them to bring that in there, to take care of their needs and to take care of the animals. But there was no, natural light in there. Not until the rain stopped and the clouds opened and the window was opened and they were reminded of what they knew and the motivation that they had when they had walked into the dark ark to begin with, that they were not forgotten, that even though it was dark inside, the light was there all along. They just weren't able to see it, but it was there. But nothing compares to the darkness that covered the land when our Savior cried, "Father, into your hands I lay down my spirit. It is finished." None of that darkness compares, does it? The magnificence of feeling that earthquake, the sun and the stars fade away while they waited for 3 hours, while they waited. Luke chapter 23, verse 44 through 46. In that darkness. And I imagine they were wondering if this was the end, the end of the world, not knowing what caused that blackness that enveloped them, not being prepared for those hours, sitting in the dark in the middle of the day, waiting for the light to come back, and not knowing that if it would. And so, after that darkness, the light did return, but for some, not really. Because Mark chapter 16, verse 1 and 2 says that they waited in the darkness until the sun had risen. Those women waited until the early morning as they took spices to that dark tomb, when even though there was enough light for them to walk and find their way, to not stumble and spill those spices that they took to the Master's grave, I imagine the world that they walked into them just seemed a little darker, that hope was a little more dim, because the Savior was gone. He had gone into the darkness. And as they contemplated how they would, roll that stone away, how would somebody be there to help them, did they bring a light with them to help them see inside the tomb? But maybe it didn't matter, because the light, the hope, was gone and laid in that tomb, and their hearts were breaking. But it was lighter than they thought, wasn't it? Much lighter. They just didn't see it yet. And that's what I was contemplating at 7 a.m. And I heard the mower humming around the property and saw him on the mower, and the sky became brighter with light. And there suddenly was no evidence of any darkness that had just been there an hour before. And I thought I was wrong, because I didn't see any light. But it only took another 10 minutes as I sat in that house thinking about those words, lighter than you think, and watching each minute the pinkish hue in the sky grew brighter and brighter, and the darkness dissolved in front of my eyes, and the glow of the horizon climbed higher and higher. And I realized he was right all along. Even when it seems the darkest, even when my eyes can't see it yet, and they can't see the goodness or the mercy or the path that God has provided to show me the way that is right in front of me, He's still there. The light is still there. He's still providing, even when we are in unfamiliar territory and have no idea where we are, or when we're closed up in a situation that we never expected. It's unfamiliar, and we feel scared, and we're worried that there's no way out. We're trapped. He is still there. The light is still there. He is still caring for us. And when we feel we have been abandoned and life seems hopeless, when all we can see is that blackness and darkness, we must remember that darkness, that's our perspective. It's not the reality, because the truth is, we just can't see the light yet. but the light is still there. He is there, lighting our way. It just may seem dark because our eyes haven't adjusted, but it is lighter than we think. And it is for this that I bow my knees with you today, so grateful for the light that it never disappears, and so grateful for the hope that it provides when that darkness comes.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. You can find out more about Bob Wade Media by visiting our website at bobwademedia.org, as well as finding us on social media. And as always, to God be the glory.